Episode number 9, Mysticism, Mental Alchemy, and Peak Performance with Len Wright.
Can you remember a time you failed? A time you were so close to your goal, but it all came crashing down? We've all been there. But why does this happen? Why do we sometimes fail when we attempt to scale? Here's the secret. In order to grow your business and expand your mind, you need a controlled environment, like a plant growing in a greenhouse. It's my mission to help experts and entrepreneurs grow rapidly by leveraging outside resources and unlocking universal wisdom. But the question is, how will they do it? Join me on this epic journey as we monetize our passions, scale our businesses, and master eternal abundance. My name is Aaron Civitarese, and this is the Growth Podcast. All right, welcome to the Growth Podcast. I'm here today with my guest, Len Wright, esoteric or mental alchemy, the transmutation of attitudes, perceptions, and internal states, subconscious performance enhancement, tapping into your higher true potential while leveling up in all areas of your life using the power of your mind. Len works with high-level achievers, entrepreneurs, influential leaders, big dreamers in letting go of unresolved issues, breaking through the barriers that hold them back, and reaching bigger and loftier goals faster. He brings out their personality and authenticity. He helps them in their unique gifts, and he helps them express the life in full passion, success, and happiness. And I'm happy to call him one of my friends. Len, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thanks. That almost was the show, I think. It's a little long. I'm really, really excited about this, and I really appreciate you having me on. I think we're going to have a blast.
Yeah, great. Thanks for making the time. I always enjoy our conversations when we're talking one-on-one, and I'm thrilled to let the audience, get a piece of you because, you're one of these guys that just, you blow minds and you're very sought after. And I'm very grateful to have you here, Len. So thanks for stopping by, buddy.
Deep bow, my brother.
All right. So for those who don't know you, maybe you could just let them into your world a little bit. Who is Len Wright?
They may want to run right away. I'm just who is Len Wright? That's really the thing. I mean, I really don't have a certain identity. I've done things. I've been things. I've learned things. But my real job is to be able to move away from an identity of any kind and to be adaptable. So some of the stuff that I've done in the past, I mean, all of it, really looking back, all of it has been in some way, shape, and form focused on internal growth. Being able to, whether you call it spiritual or soul or spirit or whatever, that deeper part of that consciousness within us, as your whole podcast is called, growth. Everything I've done has been focused on that. I was brought up in a very Christian, tight-knit, I'll say cult, Jehovah's Witnesses. And so it was an interesting upbringing that only later in life I could understand what it was for. I left that in my mid-20s and went on searching for that exact question you asked me, who is Len Wright? And I think I've been on that search since as far back as I can remember, 5-6 years old. So I was around a lot of death because I was, my mom was like 42 when I was born. So, and she was the youngest in her family. So they were dropping like flies when I was growing up. And so it was always in front of me. And in my late teens, I started hearing about my grandpa, who was I guess he was a Freemason at the time. I didn't know. He died 2 years before I was born. And so that, hearing that he went to these secret meetings and stuff, and then all the other who am I related with all the sort of, quote unquote, spiritual type of upbringing, really just, it converged in this passion of being able to find out what is this other 90% of this dormant space they say that we're not using, that we're only maximum using 10% of our potential. What else? How else do you tap into that? It's nothing in our bodies, nothing from us is made for nothing, for no reason, just for giggles. It's not like that. It's everything has a purpose if you understand it. You may just not understand it yet. Well, this is that exact thing. So the who am I is a big one. It led me more into a deeper and deeper search. and then led me more into mysticism. And there, a lot of the pieces of the puzzle that I had been going through more of a, almost every phase. Really, I went in through the New Age. I had a business for about 5 years that was an internet TV channel for all this type of growth material. So I had access to pretty much all the top teachers at the time. Everything step by step, as you'll probably see in your own life, was focused on getting to where, when I was a little kid, I wished that I was, could be a wizard. And the funny thing is that all the way through, I'll be 50 in less than a month here. And I look back on it, and that is really what I've turned out to be, is I use source energy. I understand it. I understand the electricity of us, the magnetic of us, and the bio of us, and the system that creates the behavior and the actions we produce. And in doing that, I've found different, quote unquote, secrets of allowing us, or hidden truths of how we can access that data load, that dormant in us. And it's been an incredible ride. And I really only feel like I'm just really getting started. I'm a lifelong learner. I will always be the student. But I think we can share some stuff today, a little bit more about, what that search was. Who am I? Who are you? Who are the listeners? I mean, we could really have like years long discussions about that, because here's the point with that question. People are looking for a definitive. There never ever will be a definitive, because you are always changing. So when you're trying to say, this is who I am, because the words I am is a creative force. I am hungry. I am depressed. I am awesome. I'm a father. I'm a busy guy. I'm a loving person. It's a creative pronunciation of what we are, a proclamation of what we are at that moment. But it's not meant for us to be able to stamp that as that's us. That's an identity. It's just meant for us to be able to grow through, because as Charles Darwin said, it was the survival of the fittest. And I think we've spoke about this before. What he meant by the fittest was those that are the most adaptable to the moment, to the experience, because they are the fittest. They're the ones that can change. The other ones can't change quick enough, so they're the ones that are the weak ones. So learning how to adapt, not being stuck in an identity, as Bruce Lee said, being like water, that's our true essence. The other builds limitations.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I that's one of the reasons I wanted you out here, man. You answer those in such a profound way. It's for a lot of people, that's quite a basic question. They would just say, well, I'm this, I'm that. But the reality is, no, we're all adapting and changing. So, I mean, you mentioned you've been on the personal development path. I mean, that's an understatement, for decades now. And now you help hundreds of people on their path. And I guess I have to ask, like, for the listener out there who might be early on their journey, maybe they're 5 years in, 10 years in, or maybe they're just getting started. Maybe they're just now reading, like, say, Think and Grow Rich, or one of these books, or just learning about this stuff. What are some of the challenges or struggles or roadblocks that are going to pop up that maybe you could help them navigate right now?
That's a fantastic question, man. That's awesome. The number one is, I think I'm there, or I think I know it. I know that already. Yep, I know it. I'm it. I see people all the time. I'll post something about something that's really a deep thing to let go of, and then I'll get people going, yep, I do that. And I know for a fact they don't, because when you proclaim something like I do it, it's really focusing on, your insecurity. I don't really do it. I'm just trying to hide it, because, the loud one in the crowd is always the weakest, right? You don't need to boast about something that you really, really have, really are. It's just there if you really own it inside, right? So the identities actually behind all of it, Aaron, is the idea that when you say you're something, along with it comes all the limitation that identity, it's like Guy Finley, one of my favorite authors, he said, you live in a room the size of your understanding. And if your understanding is, this is who I am, then that's the room you live in. The expansion past that room is very difficult if that's who you proclaim who you are. Now, I'm interested in this. I'm interested in that. I'm passionate about this. I'm passionate about that. I'm not that. Wayne Dyer said that one time. Actually, he was echoing many before him who said it, but I love how he said it. I love Buddha. I love Buddha's teachings. I'm not Buddhist. I love Krishna's teachings, but I'm not a Christian. I love Jesus' teachings, but I'm not a Christian. And in that way, we can see the whole picture. When you get myopic and you focus in and you define something, we're talking about labels and meanings. When you define something, you limit it. You put all your focus on that's what it has to be, that's what it is. So it's not given the direction that it can flow outside of that, expand outside of that. That's what it is. So then all of a sudden your mind and your whole structure, belief structure goes, oh, that's what it is. Okay, so I'm that. And to give you an example, for the newer ones, or for anybody, I'm an entrepreneur. Okay, so then all of a sudden when I proclaim I'm an entrepreneur and I believe that's who I am, not something I play with, but who I am, it's a fiber of who I am. And you and I both know people like that. We meet people like that. And when they do that, then all of a sudden it kicks off inside of them. What does that mean to me? Well, it means success. Okay, so what does success mean to me? Well, it means that this and this and this and this goal and this and this and this. So then what if I don't reach exactly that? Who am I then? All of this structure gets built behind the I am this. There also has to be the other side built within you. Well, what if it doesn't happen? So then what you're really doing by doing that is building a whole bunch of limitation within you. Instead, just enjoy it. You don't have to identify, this is who I am. This is I am this. I'm always changing. Right now, my passion is here and I'm doing this. I'm having a blast. I'm having fun. But who knows, next year I may be completely someone. I may be doing something else.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I'm free, aren't I? Like I didn't limit myself to be like, okay, I'm now having to show the world that I'm successful at this one thing. It allows you to go, hey, I'm playing with this. I'm putting this on, trying it on for a while, seeing if I like it. I posted something yesterday, I think it was, on Facebook about playing. Albert Einstein, play is the best research, most productive way of researching. So how much research do we do in the things we say we love? Like our businesses, like entrepreneurship. It should be a complete research science lab where we're testing things out without emotion, enjoying it, but not getting wrapped up in this is who I am. Because, and I'll just say this one point, and then because you're only renting all of it. That's why. In the end, you have to give it up somehow, way, shape, and form. So what you're doing by saying, I am this, and I'm a successful this, and putting your identity on it, not just enjoying it, but putting your identity on it, you're setting up a situation of conflict within yourself, because a deep part of you knows that, hey, that's just a sandcastle built in where the tide's going to come. It's all going to be washed away. What am I going to do then? Who am I then? That's why your podcast growth is important, because if you put the cart before the horse, you'll continually always be stumbling and tripping and getting hurt and slow. And it'll be so much effort to get things moving. Whereas if you tap into the natural flow instead and just play, then all of a sudden things get lighter and things come to you that you never have imagined before.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a phenomenon, isn't it? When you let go of attachment and kind of accept what is in the moment and find the positive in it, find something to be grateful for, even if it seems to be bad, it was placed there for a reason and you can pull a lesson from it, right?
Yeah.
And start looking from that frame, you're all of a sudden things start showing up in your reality that, yeah, you could never have even imagined. The people you start meeting and the circumstances that are in front of you, they just come out of, it feels like magic, but it's not. It's flow.
Well, it is magic, and yet at the same time, it's just nature. It's there. We're ignoring it all the time, right? We're so distracted into our mind and our imagination, using it negatively and living from there, that we don't see the magic that's happening continually. Every moment is sparked full of incredible magic that can be used. It's energy. But if you're not even aware of your present moment happening, you're in your head trying to plan the next moment, and you miss the moment you're in. You miss the magic. You can't see it. It's always happening. I mean, our last conversation, not to go into it, but wasn't it interesting? As soon as you got off the phone, the stuff that we were talking about was showing in your own life.
Yeah.
Right?
Really
It's always happening. But, if you had got off the phone and if something had ticked you off not maybe of our conversation, but you get off the phone and your significant other didn't do something, or whatever it was, you get off the phone, you're ticked off, you wouldn't have seen that. You had to have been a space of flow, of peace, of receiving, so that then you're open and observant in the moment, and then all of a sudden I see that stuff. It's already happening. It's always happening. It's never not happening. Yeah. Right. And I love the verse. There's a quote, and I can't remember who said it. Long old quote. It's when you start noticing magic, it starts noticing you. And what they're talking about with magic is really the essence, that is the reason why you can move and be. It's just it's the energy field that we live in and are a part of. It's not this big old man shaking his finger at you. And if you live that way, you live in a limitation. You live in that size of room. Whereas the energy is all around us. It animates us. Even right now, you and I talking. The only reason we're able to do this is because something's animating us. Some energy is, I want to use the word possessing, but I don't get freaked out. I don't mean it that way. It's housing us. It's moving us. It's living through us. We call it consciousness, and we call it a bunch of different things. But whatever it's called, that's what it is. And these conversations and this information, as you probably have seen a lot, Aaron, it's looked at so many times as woo-woo or like spacey or out of touch, or here comes the hippies, right? And that type of idea, all love. And I want to say I can't speak for them. A lot of them is. I'm not out there just banging the drum. Like you said, I've done decades and decades of scientific research on how the mind works, and it has to marry science and mysticism, because that so-called spiritual content is us. We're energy moving, and we've got to understand consciousness and what energy is, what electricity is, what magnetic force does. Because if you study those things, it's interesting. The same words even pop up as in growth. Like if you study electricity, you're going to come across words like current, flow, resistance. Well, I use those as a part of my explaining about consciousness. But an electrician and I can sit down and we can talk about stuff like that, and they won't even know that I'm talking about consciousness.
Oh, that's interesting.
Right.
That is interesting.
So everything I'm doing is a results based. And so the reason that you mentioned gratitude before, and getting in that state of gratitude, and then these synchronistic events start happening in your life where teachers show up in life and in your experiences. And that's really because of the fact it's not woo-woo and it's not this strange occurrence. It's understanding that we're electric and magnetic beings. The magnet part of us is just a natural force within us. We're attracted or repelled. There's only 4: adhesion, cohesion, attraction, and repulsion. Those are the 4 laws of magnetics, and we embody all of those. So when we're reaching for a state of gratitude, as you mentioned, okay, we get ourselves into a more of a thankful attitude, state of being, okay? It's not woo-woo, it's actually scientific that it will actually be a more productive state, a more successful state with us, because we're matching with higher success things, experiences, events, people, places, nouns. We're just going to be naturally attracted to that because our life track is now on what the same energy, frequency, vibration, if you will, as what gratitude is. Gratitude feels good. Gratitude is just a good feeling thing. You can't be angry and grateful at the same time. They're at opposite poles. So if you reach for, I'm going to be, I'm not feeling right now. I'm feeling a little off, and I'm about to do the sales call, or I'm about to talk to this prospect, or I'm having an important meeting with somebody, and I'm feeling off. Oh, well, I'm just going to go into it. Okay, there's one, you're going to reap certain results out of that. And in that, the magnetics law that you're going to be actually enhancing in you, amplifying, is the repulsion. We've all had salesmen we just don't feel like dealing with. We're people that we just shy away from. We just don't connect with. Right? Whereas, okay, instead of making that call, I'm off, I can feel it inside, I've got something on my mind that's bugging me or whatever. Okay, I'm going to discipline myself. I'm going to work on focusing. Now, this is the big part for all those people out there that are struggling. This is one of the things that I was going to bring up right at the start. Your focus is your steering wheel. Your emotions are your gas. So don't lead with your emotions. Otherwise, you're going to bang into everything. Go too fast.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Right. So you lead instead by principle, right? So you go through that in a grateful state, Civi, and then you're going to be on the same level of attraction, of connection as people who are also in a grateful state. Right? So the sales call becomes, instead of, I gotta do this, I got this on my mind, this bill, this person, this. Instead, it becomes, I'm only focusing on something I'm really grateful. Then I'm gonna get myself in that feeling of grateful, and then I'm gonna pick up the phone. Your voice tone will be different. The words you choose to use to that person will be different. The possibility and permission that you give the person to be just happy and be will be different. And then you won't be entering into a situation of using repulsion. You will be using instead first attraction, then if you're really good, adhesion.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting you bring that up. As you know, I'm a high ticket closer, and we have teams of closers that I have the privilege of helping on their journey as well. And, one of the things that was taught to me by my mentor in closing, and what I teach these guys and what I practice, I mean, I literally just did it an hour before we spoke. I was on a call. And before the call, we have a ritual that we go through. And one of the steps on the pre-call ritual is get into a state of gratitude. And it's purely for all the reasons you said. It's so that you're coming across at a high vibration, and that you're using language that allows the prospect to open up and actually be themselves, so that you can then step in and actually serve them and solve their problem. Right. And it all comes from the state of mind you're in before you make that call. So I'm glad you said that. This is what happens when you're in the moment, right? There you go. It's
well,
perfect.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's a training. It's a process, right? Too. And it's a really never ending process, the growth cycle. So you get better and better and better along the way. And that's the rewards, right? Like every step that you make in your life towards that higherness, the real you, letting go of the crap, the heaviness, the false responsibilities you have, the expectations. Every step you make that way liberates you more. The more real you leaks out into your world, and then you can be unique. And then when you're really, really unique and you're you, that's what attracts people, because you have something nobody else does, because you're you. And that's what I do with my clients, is what I do with people who work with. We all put so much limitation on it, and with salespeople, oh my gosh, it's huge. Business people as well, all business people. But there's so much agenda that we have when we go into a meeting, or when we're thinking about business. I hear all the time, okay, well, now we've got to put our business hat on. Right. So now what that really means is now we've got to actually stiffen up more, close all our expansive doors, make our rooms smaller, so that we actually, our results are far less than we could have been. So to me, it's just like, oh my gosh, why don't we instead play first? Yeah, it's an interesting, I don't know if you've ever heard this, but I get my clients to play a lot, because it's been scientifically proven that as an adult, it takes a couple hundred times to be able to, learn some sort of cognitive process, or learn something, right? That you have to really dig into and learn. The same type model of learning for a child is usually about between 10 and 15 times. Its average is 200 times for an adult. The reason is the adult looks at the thing and goes, oh, I can't do that. Oh, that's not good enough. Oh, I'm better than it. No, it's better than me. Oh, Bob did it. Can I live up to Bob's standard? Blah, 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 blah. It's all this stuff. Whereas the child looks at it and goes, and just goes and does it. And then he fails and he goes, okay, so how do I do it? Oh, and just does it. Whereas the adult would have got stuck and said, oh, I'm a failure. Yeah. Our minds, if we're not trained in using them properly, this is the ridiculous thing, Aaron. We all think just because we have the mind, we know what it is. We know how to work it. Yup. Nope. You haven't been trained. And we have to learn how the mind works so that we can adapt to it, because it will definitely not adapt to us. I say all the time, life is an echo. How many times does a male yell an echo and it comes back in a female voice with the words changed? Wouldn't have been echo. That's exactly what happens in all of everything we do, whether it be in our relationships with others, with even ourselves. We only are going to reap what is sown. We are only going to receive what we put out. So if we're in a frustrated state, in a state of I don't have, or lack, or any kind of doubt, and then we go ahead and make a sales call, we go ahead and talk to that person, that meeting, that bank for the loan, whatever it is, we're writing our script ahead of time. I have a saying that I say is, we're red carpeting our next moment with what we're feeling now. And so when we do the work inside, and that's alchemy, that's transmutation of internal states. That's what alchemy was. It was taking lead, which is something that does not serve you and is not very valuable, which frustration is, which anger, which doubt, which all this stuff, limitation, is not useful for you. It is lead. It weighs you down with no value or very little. Whereas if you internally turn that lead into gold by seeing the value and by creating something new out of it that serves you, then you see the value in it. You've made gold out of that within yourself. So instead of someone being angry all the time, angry at life, then they understand what life is, what their experiences are, that it's there to teach them how to be that higher true self. It's actually a partner in their success if they learn how to read the mirror in front of them. Then all of a sudden, everything in your life is there to rise you. And the swimming up the stream and struggling stops. You mentioned Think and Grow Rich. He was a mystic. Most mystics are very private about it. We see them absolutely everywhere. Walt Disney was a great mystic, right? Almost all of the U.S. presidents, a lot of politicians. I mean, I can go on and on and on and on.
Now, what do you mean, when you say mystic? What do you mean? What's the definition of a mystic to you?
Somebody who is learning natural law and learning how to adapt themselves to it so that they can actually gain more mastery in their life and over themselves. Learning about themselves as the universe, as the God of that universe. Thus, I can go so many quotes rushed into my head with that one, but the one on this outside of the Greek Mystery School in Delphi, on the gates, it said, "Know thyself, and ye shall know the gods." Paracelsus used to say that too, and it's because we are the microcosm to the macrocosm. That's why in the middle of us, it's called a solar plexus, right? We are all the universe within us. And so the more we learn about us, the more that we then learn about this energy field that we're participating in. And our room, because our consciousness expands.
Yeah.
And so instead of going to work, we go, I don't differentiate between my work and play. Like my work is not really my work, because if you took it away from me and said you don't have to do it anymore, I'd be jonesing for it. It's something that's a part of me. It's not something I go do. It's just a part of me. So when do I work and when do I not work? It's all play.
Yeah. It's an ongoing inner work that never ends, and it's 24/7. That's what's happening, right?
Yeah, it's never not happening. It's always going on. The only way that we feel it's not happening is because we've taken our focus, the only thing we have control of, and we placed it on something else. So we're distracted from our reality, and we're in the illusion. We're so fully in our story that we've now gotten to where we believe that over our inside world.
One of my mentors says, distraction is the only luxury of the poor. And it doesn't mean poor monetarily, right? It means poor in general, mental on the path.
Well, it's the only thing that you control, because you could be really, take it to an extreme, but you could be being tortured. And if you have trained and disciplined your focus, you can take yourself into a completely different area mentally. You could turn the pain into severe cold. You could do like what the Tibetan monks do. They put freezing towels over themselves as one experiment, one exercise to test themselves, to teach themselves. And freezing cold, and within a very short period of time, they're dry, just because of the energy that they can put out. They can dry the towels. They can emit, and it's not for this. Look what I can do. It's instead it's something to help them. It's a tool. But there's many tools, and what we call the greatest tool is life. Try having a kid, being a parent. Try being in a relationship. Try having a business. These are the things that, as that one teacher master, Jesus, not to go into that at all, but he was exactly that way as well. It was, he was a carpenter, but he never really talked about that much. His passion was teaching, was growing, was self-illumination. And it should be with us too, because Without that, our cart is always before us, because the cart really is our limitation. And it only gets put behind the horse, which is our understanding of ourselves. Because if you understand yourself, whoa, now you can put the limitation behind you and you can run fast, free.
Yeah.
But if you don't put that limitation and understand how it works, what it does, how it works, why it's in you, what's going on, then it just weighs you down in everything you do.
Mm. Yeah. Okay. So now let's take this a touch deeper. Okay. Um, just a touch. We won't go all the way in, but let's just go a touch. You know, one thing that I've learned reading, books and researching about all of this stuff, which I just find fascinating. It's absolutely amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Is that, the planes of existence, they're intimately related to vibrational frequency, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
they
Mm-hmm.
are one. So would you mind? I mean, you introduced me to the Hermetic principles.
Mm-hmm.
And since you did, I haven't stopped reading, learning about them, right?
Yeah.
So if you don't mind, I'd love if you
Yeah.
just go into them
Yes,
and touch on them a little bit for us, because
please.
it's absolutely, it makes things so clear when you start understanding these principles. So
Yeah.
let's start
Well,
with,
they are the notes.
they're the
Oh,
notes.
you know what I was going to say? They are the notes that make up this universe. This one
Ooh,
song. There's 7 notes that make it up.
mm,
And what I say to people is, like, everything they've learned, everything they've been studying, whether it be some religion, whether it be just personal development, it doesn't really matter. No matter who they are, they've heard of and know little bits and pieces of the Hermetic principle, because the Hermetic principle came first. It came before any of these holy books, came before any of the other manuscripts, anything else. And so you're going to see anything. The biggest one that probably everybody knows of is cause and effect, right? Everybody goes, oh, I know cause and effect. Well, that's an actual creation principle. I hate using the word law, because, everybody, it gets messed up in the energetic world, but it's, put it this way, it is one of all 7 make up every moment, every experience you have, every thought, every process of growth, everything you do. All 7 of these are a part of every little bit, and you cannot change them or kick them out of your life. I say to people, so the next moment, for whatever you do, try your hardest not to have cause and effect a part of your next moment. And in doing whatever they do, that's the cause to the next. They can't. You can't strip it from your moment. Try stripping vibration from an experience. You can't have the whole experience without it.
it's impossible.
Try rhythm, right? So the 7 are, the first is mentalism. All is mental, all is mind. Second is correspondence, right? That which is above, so below, as above. It's a helpful tool in being able to see everything as a mirror to everything else. Microcosm to macrocosm, macrocosm to microcosm, as I was speaking about before.
Mm.
And then you have vibration, which everything is on different rates and different frequencies. Okay, and that's a whole big thing. Tesla did a lot of work in that. A lot of people did that. Now, Tesla cars, like Nikola Tesla, although Elon has done a lot of work in that as well. So vibration. The next is rhythm, right? There's how I better count on my hand. What about mental? Okay, so all is mind, correspondence, vibration, rhythm. You have polarity, and you have cause and effect, and you have gender.
Yeah.
And so all of those 7 is to study them uncovers. It's the keys that uncover your experience. What's going on in it? How do I change it? What is me? What are these experiences, and how do I have any kind of quote unquote control over it? And so when you ask what a mystic is, it's a mystic understands this is one of the areas of deep study that a mystic studies, so that once you understand how nature works, like studying gravity, right? You study gravity, you go, okay, I've even got a basic understanding, what I throw is, if I throw something up straight up in the air, I'm going to step out of the way, because otherwise it's going to come down and hit. So that understanding of that principle, creation principle, energetic principle, saves me from hurting myself. And that's what really the work of a mystic is to be able to, like the onion, or better yet, like the rose, petal by petal, unfold ourselves so that the fragrance of our essence is more beautiful. It's powerful because of the fact that we become, through each petal, a better person by understanding these principles and applying them in our lives more. I mean, it's not just that. Hermetics, I mean, it takes in alchemy, it takes in some numerology and some allegory and all some other stuff, but they're all focused on understanding that those Hermetic principles are the basis of creation itself, of our reality. So, I mean, that's the best way said, is it's a creation, building blocks of our reality.
Building blocks of our reality, yeah.
Yeah. So once you understand them intimately, then you can understand, as go back to Elon Musk again, how to manipulate the hologram. Because all is mind. It's a hologram. That's what he's saying. He's not saying it. I don't know if he's studied Hermetics. I don't know Elon Musk in that way. But when he talks about that, and when others talk about it being an imagination field or a hologram, that's really what they're saying in effect, is these are the principles that make it up. Once you understand how nature works, just like gravity, you can actually step out of the way. You work with them, not against them. So I'm not trying to manipulate gravity to change how gravity works. I can manipulate gravity by understanding how it works, then manipulating myself to fall in line with gravity.
Yeah.
Then I work what's called as magic. Because, okay, I understand cause and effect, right? So as a business person, I'll pull that and apply that into every meeting, everything I do, in that, okay, this is the effect that's happening. This is the results. That's the feedback I'm getting in my world. With maybe the meeting, I'm seeing the other person. I'm going, okay, so I'm taking that and I'm not getting emotional about it, but I'm instead measuring it against cause and effect. Is this going where I want, where it should be going, where it's good to be going? Is it flowing? Is it, because all of that effect is coming from one cause, which is me.
Yeah.
So I understand that. I go, okay, the cause is my vibration, the rhythm of my vibration, the frequency I'm at, the state I'm in, because that's where I'm vibrating at. So then we go back to before the salesman making the call. It gets very intricate and deep as to why he's doing that. The person in the next cubicle looks at him and goes, oh, he's a woo-woo. He's doing whatever, getting into state. Oh my God. But in reality, the person understands that they are a tuning tool. Have you ever seen one of those? Right?
Oh,
you
definitely. Yeah.
Right. You are that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So are we in tune? What are we vibrating at? Because all the anything with fear or limitation is fear. Anything with fear is going to have us vibrate at a lower, denser level, more mud. Whereas anything that is more towards love, which is expansion, tolerance, all this kind of non-judgment, no attachment, all that kind of stuff is actually right brain activity, and it actually creates flow.
Yep. Exactly.
So this is not this new agey type. Oh, this is deep alchemical understanding that you are the philosopher's stone. You're made of chemicals, minerals, everything that the dirt you walk on is made of. You are that, but you're vibrating differently. You're made differently. You're made in the image of this quantum field. So that great I am. So then what are you? And it comes right back to the start, is who am I?
I asked that question on purpose, right?
I'll bet you did.
I knew that. I knew you'd have I knew it. I was like, oh, what's the one question I could ask him? I'll ask him who he is. Okay.
And then for the next 3 hours. But the other thing I want to say, and because people are probably going, well, what do I do then? Well, the easiest way, same as gratitude, right? Reaching for gratitude, the same way as reaching for being a question mark. Walking through life, being okay with not knowing stuff.
Yeah, that's a
being
big
okay
one.
with not knowing this, not knowing that. And once you say, oh, I'm the expert in this, I know everything about this, then actually what you're telling your mind to do is to stop learning about it.
Exactly.
You've limited yourself.
Yeah.
Exactly. Again, it's not understanding how thought and the endocrine system that creates our emotions and feelings work. It's a process. It's a biochemical drug lab, basically, we're running inside of us. Right. And so every state we're in corresponds to a similar or like drug that's released inside of us. Some of them are alkaline drugs that, like oxytocin as an example, right? Oxytocin is wonderful. You know, think of someone you love, even your pet or anybody you love, and think of hugging them for longer than 20 seconds and them hugging you, and just feels good. It feels good inside. What's the good? What is that? What is that good feeling inside? That's oxytocin, a drug that's being released. And in that moment, you're higher than a kite on love.
Yeah.
Okay. But the same is if you looked at that person and said, oh, geez, I wish they wouldn't do this or that, or this, I don't like this about them. Instantly, another drug gets released, which is some form of acid, whether it be adrenaline or cortisone, or, I mean, there's hundreds of them in our body. And that then starts eating us away from the inside out. Mm. And it's an alkaline and acidic game. So for some, at the start, it's a personal growth. And as you grow and as you grow and as you grow, you realize you are the temple. And oh my God, I better keep the outside and the inside temple right for learning. Right for learning.
Right for learning, exactly. Now, switching gears just a little bit, over onto the business side of things. Now, what you do really is you help, winners win more. You help peak performers really tap into their potential and expand. Right now, how did you discover, your current business direction? Let's call it. How did this come about? Like, when did you decide? You said, okay, you know what? I've been on the path for many, many years. I have a lot of giving inside me. When did it kind of flip over to I'm ready to serve on a high capacity like you are now?
I started actually in my mid-20s when I started taking NLP. I went to Richard Bandler and John Laval, and I worked with them. Then I started a business where I'd bring John Laval into Vancouver for seminars and stuff. So I got a lot of NLP training. And I at the time, John basically said, like, what designation do you want? Like, oh, master practitioner. That sounds good, right? So I took that. But the idea behind it, I got so much business because at the time, John Laval was actually a personal trainer, if you will, on consciousness and with NLP to Chanel and IBM at the time. This was in like mid-90s, right? And back then he was making, $1,500, $2,000 a day for these companies, just going in and teaching them certain components of NLP. So I started there, and I started coaching way back in my 20s, and it just I would coach, I would help, and then all of a sudden I would get the entrepreneur bug and I would start some sort of venture, and I'd build it, grow it, and sell it over years. And then I'd go right back in, and it'd always be coaching in the background, usually 1 or 2 clients, and then I'd grow a little bit more. And then so that's been my, ongoing. And I looked at it as a start and stop, when in reality, over the last few years, and especially over the last year, I've been looking at it and going, it's all play. It's just, what do I feel like doing right now? And how do I use my talents in doing that? As I said before on the start of our call, I'm attracting a lot more creative types, whether they be actors, musicians, screenwriters, writers, authors, that type of idea, that use more of their creativity because I've wanted to. So what I do, Aaron, to be honest, is I go inside, and instead of building these goals and doing this, and I want this, and I see this, and I just go inside and I get into the state of that it's already happening. I see my world and I feel my world and I live my world for a few moments in a deep state of meditation. And I already just see this stuff happening, but I don't see it in particular. I'm not focused specifically. I'm just focused on the essence of how it makes me feel. Like, this is how I feel walking around in my world today. And it's like, yeah, everything is already in place. That feeling of grounded connection of, yep, that's exactly it. But I don't have to name it. So then all of a sudden, as I move through, I just play. And I just flow, be like water. And all of a sudden, I'll check my feelings and be like, hey, I'm feeling that way.
Wow.
See, I didn't have to go out and say, okay, I need to work with this type of people. I need to make this type of money. I need this type of goal. Those are all expectations that I'm building around myself that limit me. What if I want to do more? What if the universe has more in store? I don't want to write my script that clean, that concise, that defined, that labelized. No. I want to feel like when I wake up, like, I can't believe I get to work with these people. I don't believe this is my life. this is freaking awesome. This is a dream. Like, I can't believe I got to pinch myself to realize this is the world I'm creating for myself. And so that's the feeling I have. Then the content, the story gets written from that. Life comes, creates, and reads that. See, the quantum field, what echo am I sending out? The echo is, this is how I feel about my world. And so the universe then has to, this quantum field then has to echo that back into giving me experiences that make me feel that way. And you don't have to be that defined. How do you play? You don't see children run out of the back door, 7 or 8 of them, they're all going to go play. They're all running, laughing, and then they stop and they go, okay, hold on, let's have a planning meeting, guys.
Yeah.
Let's plan what we're going to play and how we're going to play, exactly every little bit of it. No, as they're playing, you can hear them talk to each other with their imagination. I'm this, okay, I'm doing this, okay, you're doing that, okay, and it creates as they go, and that is what we're meant to do. We are not meant to place all these big expectations on ourselves. I got to make this, I got to do this, I got to do this to look at myself in this kind of way. Well, oh my gosh, then you set up this expectation that life now has to come back and go, remember, change is the only constant. And so everything's taken away from you. You go bankrupt. Why me? Because you set it up to begin with all these expectations.
Yes.
And I deal with, I'll deal with musicians, top authors that do that, right? They I'll use non-client that I wish was a client, George Harrison. But he funded a lot of Paramahansa Yogananda's research and his facilities. He built one in, I believe, in the United States. He built all of it. He funded all of the building, and his ashes are buried there. And he was very much into that because of the fact that he made all the money. That's where he thought it was when he was young. He was like, I'm going to make all this money to be famous and I'll be happy. And he got all of it and he went, I'm more miserable than I was before. Because all money does is amplify who you are at the moment. And who you are is the state you're in at the moment. And so if you're in a state of greed, if you're in a state of this will solve my problems, then your problems then have to just be amplified. Because the lesson is, no, that's not how it works. So it just amplifies. So as George Harrison, he went through the drugs, he went through all this kind of stuff, as most musicians do, because they get into that state. They go into it thinking this is happiness. And they set all the expectations out, just like entrepreneurs do. And then when they get some of that, they go, oh, whoa, we didn't count on the dark coming with it. It's a misunderstanding. They didn't understand mind first. If they would have realized, okay, so I'm going to stop asking. I'm just going to start playing and enjoying everything. And then that's what I'll get more of. But instead, they were always chasing their happiness through a physical, material path. And you can't do that. It's not that the material or physical is not wanted. Money's great. It's fantastic. It's awesome. However long it lasts in this type of currency, right? It's great. It's what it can do. But if I put it first, I'm going to constantly be tripping over it. It has to be an accessory, a bauble, right? It has to be the lights on the tree, not the tree itself.
Yeah. I like that. If you put it first, you'll be tripping on it. That's great. Because, especially in the entrepreneur game, especially with the internet, you see all this flash. You see everybody flashing their cars and stuff. And we all love amazing cars and mansions and yachts. Who doesn't, right? We all do. Everybody does. But
except sometimes the people that are owning them.
Yeah. Exactly.
We like the idea. We like the idea of them, but we don't like when we own one and it gets scratched by a key from somebody who is jealous, and it costs us $5,000 just to be able to rub the key mark up. See, we don't see. This is what I'm talking about, right? It's a focus on things that we don't even know what that experience really is, and yet we desire it so much. This is why Buddha said all desire equals suffering, because you don't even know what you're asking for. I want all this fame. Really? You can't handle the fame. What if the fame turns you to, in 2 years, you want to commit suicide because you didn't do growth first?
We see that a lot with pop culture and celebrities and things, right?
Yeah, because they just put the cart before the horse, and they get so damn sick and tired of the cart in front of them, they don't know how to remove it, so they kill the horse.
They kill the horse. Yeah.
Right. And instead, they just need to actually understand that the cart isn't meant to be in front of them. They're meant to just be the horse. And when they are, then the cart moves behind them, and then they can just enjoy. Nothing's in front of them. And that's what George Harrison learned in the end, right? He learned how to transmute. He was a great mystic as well. A lot of the Beatles songs, just listen to them, right? They were all studying this material at different depths. They went to the Maharishi, they were all studying, who am I? And that is really the basis of every really great individual that's pretty much ever lived, or a great majority of them. When you study who they were in the background, then you understand, oh, hold on, they had all these beliefs too. Even Nelson Mandela, somebody I studied for, I love that man. And at the same time, I learned he was a Knights of Malta, right? Mystics, old mystics. You can look it up, just look in the pictures in Google Images and look up Nelson Mandela, Malta, Knights of Malta, and you see his pictures with his big cape with the Iron Cross. Cross not meaning that same thing. But the idea is that when you start really doing your research, all the great inventors, all the great scientists, all the great artists, all the great musicians, all the way down, they were mystics. They were into this material and studying the building blocks of their reality and who they were in relation to them.
Yeah. Amazing. Okay. So you mentioned doing research. Now I'm sure the listener right now is thinking, oh my goodness, I would love to do some research on this. Can you help point them in the right direction? What are some of the books or resources that you like to look up on? Or
well, actually, what came to mind too, and I will bring a few up as well. But before that, the greatest resource is with them at all times, and that is just close their eyes. Just go into the silence for a little bit, and more than likely for the first while, it'll be really difficult. And that's why they're stumbling, because of the noise in their mind. The noise, they're living in their head, and it's so loud in there. It's supposed to be a temple, quiet, peaceful, creative, supportive, made of love. It's supposed to be that. It's supposed to be silent in there, like a cathedral, a temple. If you rub behind your eyes, as I did with you, Aaron, I showed you that. It's called a temple for a reason. It's not a misnomer in the English language. It's meant that way, to point you, just like solar plexus. These are meant to point you in the right direction. So I would say, just start, instead of reading and knowledge, just start by sitting a few times a day, not doing anything, sitting quietly, and just focusing on your breathing. You can do something I call box breathing, but it's not really called that, but I'm just calling that right now. Just to make it easy. But it's actually a balancing breathing, but it will harness your focus away from your mind's chatter. And that is, you breathe in deep, and then you hold it for about the same amount of time as your breath in, and then you breathe out for about the same amount of time as you held it, and you breathe and you hold it out with nothing in, just letting it be for about the same amount of time. So it's a rhythm. It's breathing in, say, for 3, holding it for 3, letting it out for 3, and letting all out, just being for 3 with no breath. And this whole time focusing on it and being it. And if you do that, give yourself 3 months. I know, give yourself a week, but give yourself some time to practice and practice and practice it, and be observant to what's going on within you. Not trying to change it, not trying to get, judge it, not trying to do anything with it. Just observe what is going on within you. And you will get a big lesson in understanding why what's going on outside of you is going on, because it's going to be a match. You're going to see the same chaos going on in you that you have created in your outer world. You'll see the same expectation and limitation in there, because that's where it all started. So that's the first thing I would just say. Start meditation, and that's the best way to be able to start it, is just focus, close your eyes, just sit quietly for a while and focus on your breathing. That's it. And it's going to take practice. And when you do it, you'll get more and more rewards. And for a little bit, your world will, because you're not thinking, you're not asking, which is resistance. You stop the resistance, you'll just all of a sudden feel more free and more peaceful as it goes. So that's the first thing. As in books, I love Think and Grow Rich, what you mentioned, but I'd like people to read it with a mystic overview instead of a personal development overview. Look deeper into the words and what he's trying to teach you, because it's all state control, like we've been talking about too. Right? You read it from a mystical point of view again. It's different. The other is, this will be right for some. You'll know this will be right for some and not right for others yet. But just the same as I said with you, the Kabbalion, it's a deep mystical work. It's read and written very differently. And for some, it's just not at the right time. Others, you'll eat it up. So I would check with that. I would read that over at least once, because the Hermetic principles are so valuable to be able to learn. So those, and
I know you have a list.
well, it's just, there's so much. Yeah, there's so many just just good books out there. Whatever you read, this is the biggest thing. It doesn't really matter in the personal development world. What you read is, make sure it's from love, make sure it's past just desire of want, and then apply it in your life.
Yeah.
So, I mean, my biggest thing I tell people is, ask the question continually with whatever you're saying, whatever you're thinking, whatever you're acting. What would love do? Would love do this? Is this what I would call loving if it was done to me? Is everybody being loved in this experience? Where is there not love here? And how can I increase that to more love?
Yeah. Then you're vibrating as high as possible. And
boom. That's exactly it, my brother. That's exactly it. It's not because you're a hippie. It's because you understand from a mystical, powerful, elite point of view that in that state of love, you are the same creative energy as God. It's the most powerful you can be.
Exactly.
Right. So that's, I mean, why, who would be like, oh, I'm going into this meeting, how can I be a little bit less powerful? No, you want to be the most powerful. And I guarantee the others in the room are not focused on being loved. They're not focused on their vibration. They're not focused on being present, which is so important. Yeah. Present, not in your mind chattering, going on about some other time, bringing your full presence, which is love.
Exactly.
So yeah, you end up being one of the most powerful business people in the room because you don't really end up caring whether it goes this way or that way.
Exactly. Non-attachment, right?
Yeah. Like, I don't care. I see myself winning either way. Exactly. I've created a scenario where I win. If you say I lose, I still win here. I see it clearly. And if you say I win here, I see I win here too. So there's no losing for me whatsoever going in. There's no attachment. Just let it play. Let's just let it ride. Let the fruit be known as we go. And I'll make my decisions as I go presently.
Yes. You've mentioned the word present many, many times. So I'd also like to, I'll bring out a book. One of my wife's favorite books. She's read it many, many times. And so have I, by Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now.
Yeah, it's a great book.
It's a great book. And, it doesn't go super deep on it, but it really gets you.
Yeah.
It gets you in the state, it makes you appreciate the moment.
Well, and for a lot of people, when he's talking about the pain body and so forth in there, they don't realize that their emotions aren't them.
Exactly.
Most people are riding that what I feel is me. And that's like somebody that's using LSD saying this LSD trip is me.
Exactly.
It's not.
Yeah. The emotions are not. They're not.
No. And yet, how many entrepreneurs do we know that that's how they're making their decisions? And they're basically addicts making decisions based on the drugs that they're on in the moment. And it's a scary proposition when you see that this is how most businesses are being run. When I go into a business or deal with a writing crew for a screenwriting project or whatever, I'll go in and say, before you pick up a pen, before you write that music, before anything, are you, remember, you're the tuning fork. Are you aligned? That's what precedes every movement in your world. Where am I right now? Where is my state? Where's my focus? Bring it clear. You're going to have to do that. It's a direction. I mean, planes are off course, I believe, 70% of the time, right? And then they just course correct that extra 30% of time that they just keep course correcting. Right? That's what we're meant to do. We're not meant to have it all figured out already. We're meant to move with the ever-flowing changes. How would you ever have something definite in a changing world? That's an impossibility, and that's where all the stress is coming from in the business world. Because everybody's looking for security and a final, that's how it is. And that doesn't exist. You're chasing a ghost. It doesn't exist. It's going to change. It's going to be different next year. It's going to be different in the next moment. You're different in the next moment. Every 7 years, every cell in your body is completely brand new. You're not the same person you were 20 years ago. Nothing about you is the same. Yeah. Your business is the same thing. It will come and go. So if you actually get so focused on you, learn all about you and your growth is it, that's where everything goes. Oh, but I'm playing with this business venture. I'm playing with this business venture. I do this. And yeah. But this is who I am walking through it all the time, no matter. And the ventures can come and go. Projects can come and go. But I'm just flowing through it.
Boom. That's it right there. Projects can come and go, but I'm just flowing through it. That's ultimately it. That's it right there.
That's the Midas touch, right? Turning everything to gold.
It is. That you hit it right on the head. That's perfect. All right, Len. Well, I mean, thank you so much for dropping some mystic wisdom on us here, man. I always appreciate your time. And I have a whole page of notes, as I always do when we have chats. So that's amazing. If the listeners want to learn more about you and see what you're up to, where can they come find you?
Yeah, I mean, on Facebook, Len Wright, but I mean, the easiest place probably is my website, because you can even get to my Facebook through that. And it's zenlencoaching.com. So www.zenlencoaching.com, all one word. And, it has a whole bunch of stuff on there, some podcasts. This one will be on there as soon as it's up. And you can go and listen to the other ones and read a little bit about me. And if something just strikes you and you're interested in that higher self of you playing at a higher game level, contact me. I'd love to be able to have chats with people that are expansive in those ways.
Absolutely. Well, anyone who gets the chance to work with you is definitely raising their vibration. So
yeah.
Zen Len Coaching. I love the name. It's amazing. All right, Len. Well, thank you so much. And I will definitely see you on Facebook. I love following your posts. You have amazing, inspiring posts every day. So that's just great. Make sure you go check out Len.
I appreciate it. Yeah, and I appreciate being on today too. Thanks, man.
Great. Thanks a lot, Len.
Did you enjoy today's episode? If you did, help us grow by heading over to iTunes and dropping a 5-star review and your number one takeaway. You can impact a life right now. Simply copy paste this link and shoot it over to someone you care about, Hope you're doing well. I thought you might love this. Let me know what you think. You can help spread this to the world by sharing today's episode on your social media using the hashtag #GrowthPodcast. If this is your first time here, make sure to click the subscribe button so you never miss out. As a thank you for your support and a token of my appreciation, visit our website at growthpodcast.info for your free gift. My name is Aaron Civitarese, and I'll see you next time on The Growth Podcast.